Hello, everyone. My name is Hayden Lee. Welcome to my Enneagram series. I'm a Master Certified Executive Life and Leadership Coach. I'm also an accredited Enneagram practitioner and Enneagram teacher. So I'm definitely an Enneagram enthusiast. I love the Enneagram. It's a system of development, a system of awareness in order for us to really understand our core motivation and understand why we do what we do and why other people do what they do. I always want to underscore Enneagram is all about motivation, not behavior. Whereas there's 9 Enneagram types, and all the 9 types could be engaging in the same behavior, but their motivation behind their behavior could be very different. And this series, we're talking about from vice to virtue. So each Enneagram type has a vice, which is really this fixation of default patterns of thinking, feeling, and acting that may not really be serving them. And then we want to move from that vice to the virtue, where the virtue of each type is this guiding light or this guiding principle with which, when we remember that virtue, we can work towards it and try to move towards it in order to become more of our authentic full self. And like I say, liberate ourselves from our default patterns that hold us back, right? Liberate ourselves from our vice and really work towards our virtue. So with that said, we have an amazing talk today about Enneagram Type 7 and the vice and virtue of Enneagram Type 7. So Type 7's motivation is the motivation to experience it all, live life to the fullest, and also avoid things that may be painful or boring or suffering. And the nickname for Enneagram Type 7 sometimes is the enthusiastic visionary or the enthusiast or the optimist. And we have a great guest today who is an Enneagram 7, my friend Crista Mathew. So Crista, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you are, and what you do.
Hi, Hayden. Thanks so much for having me today. I'm Crista Mathew, and I'm a personal and leadership development coach in Connecticut. I have two kids, adult kids. One graduated college last year, and one is still in college, and have been digging deep into the Enneagram probably for about 3 years now. And I was accredited in the Enneagram last summer with Hayden as my coach and trainer.
Nice. Yes, that was really fun to dive into it and learn how many different layers there are
Yeah,
to the Enneagram. It's like an onion. You keep on peeling layers and you're eventually going to cry.
that's right.
That's all right. Uh, with that said, I want to dive into the Enneagram 7, the vice, right? So remember, the motivation of the 7 is to experience it all, live life to the fullest, avoid things that may be painful or boring. The vice of the 7 is gluttony, right? This idea of doing more is more experiences, more fun, more pleasure, want it all. So, Krista, tell us how gluttony has appeared in your life and how it has maybe kept you stuck or, you know, set you back.
Yeah, I would say lots of ways. It was hard for me to peg my type, partly because as a 7, I like to avoid boredom and pain. And it was painful to look at sort of the dark side of my type. A lot of people experience me and type 7s as, so sunshiny and positive and optimistic and all the great things. But to every type, there's that like dark side. And that wanting to avoid pain has come at a real cost in my life. And so I think for me, the gluttony comes from so often it's just keeping so crazy busy that I'm numb. Or it might be, having all the experiences and they're so amazing, but the experience comes along and I'm not really experiencing it in the moment because I'm already thinking of the next one. Or
Mm,
just savoring that time and, noticing how special and incredible it is. I don't really, because I'm already projecting to the future the next thing that I'm going to do and who I'm going to be doing it with. So, um, there's a lack of stillness that can come with that gluttony. And I think for me it shows up as trying to avoid that boredom and pain. I really don't do well with boredom, and I never have since I was a little kid. um, and pain, I just sort of let myself like notice for a second, and I kind of have the silver lining and um, just the positive side of that very quickly before I allow myself to feel it. And it doesn't really allow the pain to go away. So
Yeah.
I'm not serving myself, and it's probably confusing for people around me when I'm operating from that unhealthy place.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing, and thanks for bringing up, even you noticed even as a little girl that there is this always need to want to do more, or focus on fun things. So how has gluttony shown up even in your younger years?
Um, well, I think when I was young, I grew up in a really small town, which was fine. I always had this desire to sort of like have wings and fly. Like I knew I wanted to go far away to college, and I did. I knew I wanted to live overseas, and I did. My husband and I lived overseas for 13 years. I knew I just wanted to travel a lot from a really young age, and I didn't get on an airplane and fly till the first time until I was 18, 17, I guess. So I knew all those things, and I think people may have experienced me. My mom definitely experienced me as like just a little too much, and not enough. Like you're too boisterous, you're too rambunctious, and you're just not enough like sitting still and ladylike. And so I learned to adapt. I learned from a really young age to do the things that would kind of like get approval from um, my mom and help me to fit in with my family. But I still had that really big desire to sort of break out of the box. And I think people outside my home, I accepted me more and kind of just accepted that side of me. So they saw more of the sunshiny side of me. Whereas in my family, I was kind of more withdrawn and unhappy, and there wasn't that level of acceptance. So they were like, "What are you so grumpy about?" And then we go out and be all joyful, and they couldn't understand. So there was a big disconnect.
Well, yeah. Well, what's coming up for me is I know sevens, they value adventure and freedom and not feeling restrained. That's when they feel like they can be their best. And it sounds like growing up in a small town and in your family, you did not feel like this feeling of liberation and adventure. So then it maybe caused you to be a little bit grumpy, right?
Yeah.
Because you felt like you were not satisfying your need for the gluttony of more experiences, more.
Right.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
The
And from
interest, yeah,
my perspective, you can imagine how that more comes across as extremely ungrateful and
yeah,
obnoxious for a little kid, right? So there's
yeah,
gotta be a way to
yeah.
rein it in.
Well, yeah, appreciating the present, appreciating what's there versus always thinking about where you want to go and where you want to be, instead of valuing the present moment. So,
Right.
which is interesting. What's coming up for me is I think my 10-year-old nephew, I think he's a seven. And one of
Okay.
the reasons why I say that is because we'll be playing a card game or a fun game in the moment. And he's already talking about what we're going to be playing next and like
Aw.
what we're going to be doing next. And not that he's being negative about the current game, but it's this, like you were talking about, it's like thinking about ahead, thinking, oh, what are we going to do next? Or what's going to be next? And which can take away from fully enjoying what you're doing in the moment. Yeah. Yeah. How
Yeah.
does that resonate with you?
It does. I mean, I think about vacations where we'd be on this amazing vacation in a beautiful place, and instead of just taking it all in and thinking, "Oh my gosh, we planned this for months and here we are, and isn't this wonderful?" And then we're literally in that place and thinking about where we're going to go next. What's the next trip, and um so yeah, and I think one of the real true silver linings for COVID for me has been this would have been a year of travel for me had it not been COVID. And it really forced me to like slow right down and really be present. There's no place else to
Yeah.
go. So you may as well
Yeah.
just be present, right? And there's so much uncertainty about the future to really kind of project too much into the future isn't really helpful right now anyway. So
Yeah.
being present has been a big practice that I've had in the last year. And also being present, getting, diving deeper into the Enneagram because of my training and all of that has really helped me.
Yeah. I think with gluttony being the vice of the seven, there's like an irony there. And the irony is, the seven's motivation is to experience life fully, right? But then with the gluttony piece, it ends up happening where you are doing the opposite. Because while you're having a taste of everything, you're not fully enjoying anything.
Yeah.
right? So there's that irony where it's sevens often have the breadth of experience, the breadth of knowledge, but not the depth,
That's exactly right.
right? Which once again, there's the irony. It's like your motivations, you want to experience it all, but yet as a result of that, you're not fully experiencing any. Yeah.
I know
How's
it's
that?
sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up?
It's sad.
It is. I mean, I think there is. I mean, all the Enneagram types, we all have the full range of emotions. We all do. It's called being human, right? But then
Right.
with the sevens, mostly have a sunny disposition or a positive and optimistic, which they are. It is a great positive attribute of the seven. But oftentimes, it's the gluttony piece might be masking pain or things they're avoiding or boredom or suffering because like you said, like maybe not allowing yourself to sit with the pain or suffering. So well, what's the next thing? It's like, well, let's do something fun versus let's really take some time to let whatever pain, suffering, or boredom sink in, right?
Yeah.
So it's like gathering more experiences or meeting more new people or trying the next new thing and ignoring what might be there that's a hurt or pain. Yeah. So, which is a good segue to the virtue of the seven, right? Which is sobriety,
Yeah.
right? So, sobriety being, yeah, slowing down, being present, being clear headed, allowing yourself to sit with whatever emotion is there. It does I mean, even though sobriety makes me think of, drugs or alcohol, and of course, that's not necessarily the case here, but it is true that, when someone does go through withdrawals for like heroin, let's say, one of the easiest quick fixes to not feel withdrawal is more heroin, right? So this idea
Yeah.
of gluttony, it's like, oh, I don't want to feel this way. So let me do more of something else rather than sit through the pain of withdrawal, right?
Right.
Not to say you're a heroin addict, which you're not, but I'm just, but because that's I always when I say sobriety, people think of drugs and alcohol. So, but of course there is a connection, right? Because when you're in a sober state, at first it sucks. Like even the hangover of alcohol, it's painful, and that's why there's the hair of the dog. It's like, oh, I don't want to have this raging headache. Let me drink.
Right.
But then it's like, well, actually, let's not drink. Sit through the pain of the hangover in order to feel clarity. So how is sobriety? How is that your virtue? To sit with it, to be clear, to be present, sit in, even if it is uncomfortable. How is that going to help set you free?
Yeah. Huge. It does. I mean, it's funny because the word sobriety, I stopped drinking 7 years ago because there was just never enough. And as a seven, I don't moderate well. I'm better with abstinence than moderation. But um, it's true that when you actually sit in the pain and sit in whatever it is, doesn't have to be pain, but just sit in the present moment instead
Yeah.
of projecting to the future or whatever. It can be uncomfortable in the beginning, um, but then it's more comfortable. And it's weird because I'm in a phase of grief right now. But my husband passed away 14 months
Mm,
ago and 13 months ago, I guess. And um, in COVID, it's just like such awful like timing. You're supposed to be around people when you're grieving, but had I been in that year of travel and I'm sure if everything was open I would have been keeping myself crazy busy to numb the pain or whatever, and I've done this in the past when I've lost people close to me. But truly being able to sit and acknowledge my feelings for what they are, to validate it for myself like I would for somebody else that I wanted to be empathetic for, has been a true gift to myself and to other people. And I think one of the things that I've noticed is that's the problem with these like fixations and the vice and virtues. Other types don't have this aversion to pain that I have.
yeah.
And so when I'm trying to avert my own pain and putting on silver linings and thinking of the optimistic side of a tragic situation, it doesn't land well with people who aren't sevens,
Yeah.
actually have feelings and want to,
Yeah.
go to that place. And so I think that's why a lot of times like sevens have a lot of friends that are sevens and they're kind of in that space and they feel the same way. But I mean, what I found is that when I get present with what I'm really feeling and allow myself to go to places of pain without judgment and just realize it is feeling fully alive to feel all of what is.
Mm,
Um, and then when I share that with other people, well, that's where the freedom and joy comes because instead of trying to gloss over things and sweep it under the rug and find a silver lining that doesn't really necessarily help, which is disconnecting from my own self and disconnecting from other people, and the pain is still there underneath. Now I address my pain in the present and I accept it for what is. And when I actually share it with others and connect with people on others, there's a tremendous amount of joy and comfort in that. And so even though the pain is what I least want people to know about me, what I least want to go to, when I actually dare to do that, it creates connection and community and more of what I want.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing and being vulnerable and sharing about this, tremendous loss, you experienced with the loss of your husband. And something that you just said, though, that really resonated with me is, the while the motivation of the seven is to experience it all and experience life fully, when you are avoiding pain or suffering or discomfort, you're not experiencing life fully, right? Because life is all the feels, it's all the emotions and all the experiences. And, you know, losing loved ones, and that is a part of life. It just is, right? So to not fully embrace that aspect of life, you're not fully experiencing all the layers and the colors that life has to offer. So I love what you're saying, that, being okay with pain and discomfort, and even it's okay to not be okay, which a lot of sevens think they have to find the silver lining or they have to have a sunny disposition. And sometimes it's hard to find a silver lining, or sometimes you don't feel like there is a silver lining. That's okay too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that sobriety of just being present and being honest with who you are being in any given moment, and that there's no need to, hide it or gloss over it by doing something positive or something fun. Yeah. Because
Right.
then you're doing yourself a disservice because you're not fully living, you're not fully
Yeah.
being alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, how do you know when you're fixated on the vice? Like, how do you know when you're engaging in gluttony, and how can you remember to kind of touch
Hmm.
upon some sobriety?
Well, I think that's the thing, that when you become conscious of the default and you've experienced the sobriety, it takes practice, right? But I I feel spirally. I feel spirally in my thoughts. My thoughts are really like swirling, and I feel sort of like that inner conflict inside. Like my heart just feels racy, and I just know something's off. And I think the question that I've learned to ask myself is, what am I resisting, or what am I running away from? What am I trying to escape from? So I really feel a little bit like that trapped animal thing. I feel trapped in my head or trapped in my body, that I can't really move or get out. I feel trapped is what happens. And when I recognize that I'm like looking for a way out, whether it's it might be comfort food, or it might be burying myself in a book or a movie, or it might be keeping myself so busy that I really can't think about it. I know that I'm not feeling settled, and I'm also not able to be fully present, enjoy what I'm trying to do, like the way that I'm trying to escape,
Yeah.
not fully paying attention to the movie, or I'm not fully enjoying my friends, and the food isn't comforting anyway. And so,
Yeah.
whatever that thing is, now that I'm aware it doesn't work, it truly doesn't work.
Yeah.
So then when I ask myself, what am I resisting or what am I escaping? It forces me to get present and really think about, what am I thinking right now? What am I feeling right now?
Yeah.
How's that causing me to act? What effect is that having on other people around me?
Yeah, so it's, well, as we know there's a line from 7 to 5, right? And 5 is the thinker, right? So it's almost like you catch yourself when you want to busy yourself with something else, and force yourself to just be present with your thoughts in that very moment, and just to think deeper.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Or even forget about the thinking aspect of it and allow myself to just feel it because it's heavy.
Yeah.
But like, the only way out is through. And I actually allow myself to feel the feelings, like they move through instead of just get stuck, which is kind of what
Yeah.
happened with me. I can just, in my effort to
Yeah.
escape my feelings, they get stuck because I push them down.
Yeah, that's a good catch, especially with sevens being a thinking type. And I believe your center of expression is highest in thinking, right? So then so it's not only catching yourself when there's an uncomfortable feeling, but allowing yourself to just feel it and just be rather than think about it. Why am I thinking this? Or like trying to outthink yourself.
Yeah.
It's like just be in it. Yeah. So when you have practiced being in it more and trying to, embody more of that virtue of clear-headedness and sobriety, how has it helped you?
Well, it's helped me a lot myself just to feel more at peace and just grow with what is and who I am. But it's also helped me to connect deeper with other people because it was really hard for me to be truly empathetic before when people were in their pain. Because as a seven, I would just think, oh my God, they're such a downer. And then
Yeah,
the problem is with that, like I would think that about myself, like, I don't want to be the downer. So like
yeah,
that feeling like I have to put on that happy face when I don't feel it. Whereas now when I allow myself to just really feel whatever is surfacing and being present with it and not judging it is either good or bad. It's just information. Feelings are just information, right?
yeah,
And so it really allows me to connect better with myself and to connect with other people um, where I don't feel isolated anymore in my pain. So I mean, that's the worst thing for a seven is to feel like trapped and isolated, like there's no way out. I'm stuck
yeah,
there. And so whereas really when I'm okay with it and I'm able to connect with other people on it, I don't feel stuck anymore. I feel I'm
yeah,
still in community. I don't take myself out of the game.
yeah,
So it's kind of the opposite. Like I think the worst is going to happen if I verbalize it, as if it's like verbalizing it or bringing it out in the open is going to make it worse than it is. But it's actually the opposite, that it kind of lessens it because I'm not all about myself with it.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think as we wrap up, I think that's a good segue to my last, one of my last questions is what have you learned about yourself, when you allow yourself to
Mm.
go to places where maybe in the past you wouldn't allow yourself to go, but now you're being in those places. What have you learned about yourself?
Yeah, so I guess I've learned a lot, but I've really learned that I am incredibly strong and um, never knew how strong I could be. I think the whole
Mm,
idea of trying to run away from pain is like, well, I'm just gonna crumble or fall apart or something like that. But that's not what happens. I'm incredibly strong. And
wow.
recognizing how strong I am, I see that strength in other people. I think we're all a lot stronger than we could ever imagine. Um, and that's okay. And sometimes it's like the harder things that give us the strength, but um, we never know when we're going to need it and who needs that, who we can help and who needs that as well. So yeah, I think strength has been a really big thing that I've learned.
Yeah. Wow, that was really powerful. I got some chills when you said that.
Uh,
And I think that may resonate with a lot of sevens that they might not even realize that when they're always, being looking at the silver lining and doing what's positive and they may not even realize that what they're avoiding is the fear of what will happen to them when they do face the discomfort or the pain, that maybe they'll crumble, maybe they won't be able to handle it, or maybe it'll be too much for them. And what you learned is like, no, like you are so much stronger than you think, that you can face pain and discomfort and boredom and suffering because and you'll be stronger for it. You'll be better for it. Yeah. I think
yeah,
that's a great overall lesson for sevens, right? Is you don't always have to find the silver lining. In fact, sometimes really huge life lessons when you just sit in things that are not silver linings, right? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, my word of the year last year was actually present and presence. I couldn't, it was like, but it was really kind of to do with sobriety. Like there are presence being in the present. And who knew when I picked that word of the year that like COVID would happen, but there are a lot of gifts in being able to be present
Yeah.
in the moment.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Krista. Any final words you'd like to say to our viewers about the journey from gluttony to sobriety?
It's worth it. It really is worth it. And it actually makes life so much fuller. So, yeah, just dig in and find out what it is that you're resisting and allow yourself to get curious about what's on the other side of what you're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
Kind of real gift to me. Mhm.
Wow. I love it. Thank you so much, Krista. And
Thank you.
thank you, viewers, for tuning in to the Enneagram series. You can find, if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. My YouTube channel is Hayden Lee Coaching, and you can find out more about my work at haydenleecoaching.com. I'm sorry, my website is haydenlee.com, haydenlee.com. My YouTube channel is Hayden Lee Coaching. And I have more on my website about Enneagram groups that I run. And Kristen, let me ask you, where can people find out more about you if they want to connect with you?
So they can find me on my website, which is CristaMathew.com, CristaMathew.com. And on Instagram, I'm at Crista Mathew Coaching.
Okay, got it. Oh yeah, my Instagram is at Hayden Lee Coaching. So
Okay.
yeah. Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you, viewers. Have a wonderful day, and thank you again, Krista, for being on my Vice to Virtue. And everyone, have a wonderful day. Thanks, everyone.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.